It's your boy, yadiiiig, 4 I's, 2 G's, and today we're here to talk about Chief Keef. And Chief Keef is an artist who has influenced so much in today's modern rap landscape. However, he is still overlooked in the wider community. And don't get me wrong, I don't mean in every scene in every demographic. On places like Kanye Twitter or the hip hop head subreddit, or even if you're on my channel, it's pretty likely that you recognize his influence and how much he's done for the game. But if you hear so-called hip hop gatekeepers talk about the culture, it's pretty likely that they won't bring up his name today. But why is that so? Well, in today's video we're going to break it down and have a look at it and discuss why I think Chief Keef is underrated and overlooked. And before we get into it today guys, make sure to follow your boy on all social medias, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. Also please make sure to like, subscribe and all of that good stuff, but let's get on to it. The primary reason is due to Chief Keef falling out of the mainstream eye. Post Finally Rich, Keef has been extremely quiet when it comes to the mainstream. He hasn't had any charting songs, any noteworthy sales with projects, and hasn't gone on with another major after being dropped from Interscope. And this becomes an issue because Keef's most influential work like Bang 2 and Almighty So come Post Finally Rich, and so-called outer statesmen within the hip-hop community often have a very surface level understanding of newer artists and emerging culture, but are the first to present their opinions like it's well informed, when quite often they haven't listened to many of the newer artists' music aside from their radio hit or two. And this directly correlates to Keef because as he fell out of the mainstream consciousness, these big personalities stopped listening to his music, so they are unable to connect the dots and see the influence between Keef Post Finally Rich and the newer generation, whereas a well-informed listener who has kept up with Keef will be able to connect those dots and recognize Keef's influence. But it goes deeper than that, because then this creates a domino effect, as these people have gigantic voices and audiences who treat their word as gospel. So instead of Keef's influence being one that is constantly being brought up in relevant discussions, which would lead to their audiences being clued up on it, rather their lack of knowledge of his music and influence leads to his name not being brought up in those conversations, which then gives us a current situation we're in right now, where a whole demographic is unaware of what Keef has done. And building on this, another factor that played a role is just how disruptive Keef was to the music industry, and I don't mean just controversial, I mean he seemingly gave no fucks about being accepted within the industry. Things like his despondent attitude in interviews, him missing video shoots with Wiz Khalifa and 50 Cent, his troubled time at Interscope where he called Interscope quote-unquote white honkies, and not to mention the gang violence within Chirac that was being unveiled partly due to his music. It's likely that the whole frenzy that surrounded Keef's time within the industry left sour taste in people's mouths and led to some form of blackballing. Bow Wow even came out and said that Keef has been blackballed from BET and the mainstream, and not to mention Peter Rosenberg of Hot 97 has been very vocal about not supporting Keef during his come up, and has stated that he didn't want to interview Keef due to the violence that the Chirac movement engulfed. Just like any industry, the music one is all about relationships, and having tarnished relationships all around the industry from labels to TV to radio to artists leads to people opting not to support you or your music, and this creates a climate that Keef is in right now. And that's what I think has led to Keef being in this position. It's really a combination of the two factors I've talked about today. His disruptiveness to the industry has led to an extent of blackballing, making it hard for Keef to get any sort of support from these industry personalities or the industry in general, and this plays into why he fell out of the mainstream consciousness, as if you don't have support from the industry, it makes it that much harder to get hit singles, radio play or anything like that, which leads us to right now where a large demographic just aren't clued up on his music Post Finally Rich, which is why his name isn't being brought up in these cultural conversations, as these gatekeepers and their demographic aren't knowledgeable about his influence and what he has done for the culture Post Finally Rich. And that's all from me today guys, thanks a lot for watching. Make sure to comment down below what you thought about today's video. Also please make sure to like, subscribe and follow your boy on all social medias for more.